Hello, this is an assessment of a Steinway model case size, about 132 centimetres high, I think, and made in 1903. So zeroing in, as we often do on the pedals, we can see it has had wear, but not a huge amount of wear for a Steinway. They could be a lot more worn than that. So if you look at the right hand pedal, then yes, clearly it's been used. The casework is obviously a bit the worse for wear, but could be repolished. Black French polish is extremely difficult to do, so restorers very often do the modern polyester, but it could be tidied up, obviously. Looking at the Steinway generally, then look at the keys, we can see that they're pretty perfect. Again, a sign that it's not had a huge amount of wear is that none of them have come off and been stuck back on, because they're using them, it dries the glue, that's animal glue out, and none of them have come off. Obviously they've probably been stuck on originally very well too, but also dryness tends to pull them off. If the house gets dry, or damp for that matter, then the wood expands or contracts and the key top doesn't, so the front half comes off. Right, well, it's got one music stand and not two. Lots of old German pianos have one that folds out as well. This hasn't got any book holders on. That's something that could be added. If it had thick books, that would be useful. Original Steinway logo there, I think that's brass. Yes, brass inlay. Sometimes that's wood, actually, boxwood, but let's have a look at the top of the piano too here. So, sorry, top of the fall. That's consistently in need of ideally polishing. So I think French polishing will be the right thing to keep it integral, but as I say, it's extremely difficult to do that, but just touching it up is a possibility. And looking inside the piano, it has been reconditioned relatively recently, apparently, so it's been refaced, and I think the job's been very well done generally. The regulation is good. Dampers coming off not completely together, but generally quite good, the regulation. That there are some slow hammers, that one's very slow, and if we look down as well, this tape is fine, but there are quite a few tapes that are varied. As you can see, there's a new one there, and there's about 3 or 4. There's one that's actually broken off. You can see the bottom bit is broken from the top bit. There we are, you can see it there, and there's 3 or 4 others. There's another one there with the tape missing, so changing tapes would be a good idea, but it has been graphited, I think. The idea of taking the tapes off so you can graphite, no, actually I don't think it has, so it's not terribly bad. The piano hasn't had a huge amount of use for a Steinway of this age. Something that interested me is that we have silver coloured winding here, and if you're in the trade, I'd love to find out what material was used there. Broadwood's, the English firm, did a lot of silver winding too. And a beautiful rich sound, and really when these are replaced ones at the bottom, and I don't think they got the richness that the original Steinway strings would have had, so maybe it would have been a better idea to clean them up rather than replace them, or replace them with nicer sounding strings. Now, looking down the bottom of the piano, the soundboard's in extremely good condition. It has had some moth. We can see if we zero in the bearing cloth here, you can definitely see moth along the bottom, but there's no evidence of moth droppings. You would expect red droppings, which they're where they excreted some of the red felt. Maybe there's a sort of sense of red down there, but they've been probably hoovered up or taken out. This would have been a while ago, because you can see there's quite a lot of dust in here. So there, the bearing cloth. So it's worth checking the whole piano for moth, but didn't see any on the top part. This has English eyes on these strings, so we're talking about that in another video. The German piano with English eyes, which is encouraging because they're much easier if you want to see what the difference is. I'm sorry I haven't got another piano to compare with here, but other videos have shown that. Now there you can see where that felt's been broken. That's because they've replaced the bottom strings and haven't obviously replaced the felt there, but there's the silver winding there, and then copper colour winding here down to the bottom. Our tone in the mid area here is pleasant, typical Steinway. They have a consistent tone. This is German Steinway, Hamburg Steinway. Well, there wasn't a huge difference though in 1903 between American one and a German one. And very pleasant. Original hammers been refaced. The touch is very, very good. The regulation is excellent, and the key dip is exactly 11mm, which is what I prefer on this type of piano. So, and the sharps seem to be going down enough. There's a nice aftertouch, so that's encouraging. Good. So that's an assessment of a Steinway upright piano, about just over 130 centimeters high, and a good instrument generally, as you'd expect from this age of Steinway, 1903. The touch is very pleasant. It's been restored, or reconditioned rather, relatively recently. Though the criticism I'd have, the bottom bass strings have been replaced but don't sound as pleasant as the originals. The tuning pins are very tight, by the way. The tapes need changing really. They are actually affecting the hammer return. And where you'd expect it to be round here is very pleasant. Needs some refinement, but consistent tone throughout, except for, as I say, the bottom bass is not what you'd expect on a Steinway of this quality. Very fluid to play. Touch weight is about right, I'd say about 50 grams. I didn't check it, but I can feel it's about 50 grams. And the up weight is about right too. So some refinement to do. The casework is an issue, obviously. We don't do black French polishing. We do lots of rosewood French polishing. It takes about 60 hours on an upright. Black takes longer, unfortunately, because it shows up every single defect. You can disguise in a way with its rosewood, or as was the most common one we would do. And rosewood comes out beautifully as well. Thank you very much for listening.